Welcome to the Love Speak Late Night, where you can get your love right and your game tight. I'm Chef Earl Pearl at DBCHEFTV. Please make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so when I go live, you never miss a chance to let your love speak. We got a wonderful, wonderful show today for y'all. We talking about no finance, no romance. And you know, we always encourage you to tell us what you think in the live chat. If you catch us while we live, when we live, or just, let your love speak in the comments because we want to know. So before we get into the show, I want everybody to head on over to www.bksoulfarm.com and pick up a copy of 1016 Self-Sustainability by Ali Dawood El at BK Soul Farm. The link is in the description. Also, same great ribs, next level flavor, ribs on the run 2.0, bold flavor, made to go. Perfect for parties, events, catering, and more. Real ribs, real flavor, real good. 984-331-6946 is the number. Or you can go ahead and scan that QR code and get in Ribs in the Run 2.0 mode, y'all. So check that out. Don't miss that plate. All right. Then we got DB Chef TV. Subscribe and win on YouTube. $100. We're giving it away each and every month, each and every third Sunday, live, 8 p.m. on Cigar Sundays, right there on DB Chef TV. We want to show some love to y'all for supporting the content. And put your name in the hat. All you got to do is subscribe to the channel to do that. And y'all. Don't forget we got merch. Links is in the description. And if money's tight, it's all right. We're going to love you if you do something free and just smash that like. That's all you got to do is just smash that like. So let's go ahead and jump into what we talking about tonight, y'all. We're going to get to the Love Speak Q&A because we got 5 questions. Our first question, is money more important than love and dating? Remember, y'all, we talking about no finance, no romance. Okay? Is money more important than love and dating? In a relationship, anywhere we want to go with it. All right. Number 2, does having money make someone appear more attractive before you even get with them? Is that even a thing? Are you even trying to decide, we did have a song, right? Down One No Scrubs, right? Remember TLC put out that been out for a long time. So we're going to check that out. All right. We're going to get some answers to that. Then we got third. What are some reasons that make people prioritize money over love? Like I ain't dating broke. I don't date broke. She ain't dating no bum dudes. He ain't dating no bum chicks. We hear that out here. What does being a bum consist of? Is it just the money? And can you get the love with that? I don't know. We're going to talk about it. 4th, why does it matter who makes more money than who loves the hardest? Why does it matter who makes more money than who loves the hardest? That's a different one, right? We're going to get to it tonight, though, y'all. And then 5th and final, last but never least, are people today looking for a life partner or just financial pleasure? Life partner, financial pleasure. Which one is it? You could tell us what you think in the live chat, or you can let your love speak in the comments. We're going to go ahead right now and we're gonna jump to a couple of clips. We're gonna see what the internet is talking about. Because because we want to know. We want to know. We want to know. We want to get somewhere. So the first place we're gonna go with this first question: is money more important than love and dating? And let's see what they're saying on the net.
As a woman, you really have to be asking yourself whether you're choosing money over love. A lot of women, I notice as I'm looking through women list their requirements about what they want in a man on social media, I'm noticing that women are choosing money over love. I don't know if they're choosing it because it seems like some type of consolation prize, or they feel like the only way a man can show that he loves you is through money. I don't know what it is, but some women try to make it seem like, oh, I just want a man who's stable. Well, not really, because it's a lot of 9-to-5 men who are financially stable that you could easily date who would be good to you. But women are out here looking for men who live these lavish, luxury ass lifestyles. And it's like, ma'am, you're not looking for stability. What you're looking for is consumption. You want to consume products and services. That's why you want to date a millionaire. And 9 times out of 10, a millionaire is a millionaire because they know how to make some money. They know how to keep some money. They know how to invest some money. They're not really that much of a consumer. Most millionaires are frugal as hell, living very simple lives. Luxury costs money.
Hold up, y'all. Let's examine that though. Let's examine that little part. We want to run that back real quick though. She says something. She dropped a jewel right here. Let's see if that's a jewel or that's something for a fool. Let's see.
What you're looking for is consumption.
What you're looking for is consumption. What you're looking for is consumption. Is that what it is? Is that what it is? Why you got to have the money? Because you're looking for what can I consume? I really would like for this show to be, this is what I'm going to get this show to. I'm going to get this show where we have a woman's perspective and we have a representative from the LGBTQAI plus community. Because love is, everybody's in love. So if you want to be a part of this show, hit me up, Chef Pearl at DBCHEFTV. Okay. So that way you can get up with me on here, the love speak, let your love speak, and be a regular co-host. And we can talk about these things. We're going to have these questions. It's going to be just like this, just like the other shows. Check the other shows out. And that's how we're going to run it, But now we're going to add this component where we're going to go around the internet too to try to get a larger perspective. Okay. But what she's saying correct? Consumption. I don't know. I've never even heard that. Like that's different to me. What I usually think is that it's security. When you dating somebody, everybody have certain standards. So the dating leads to the marriage. So if you have a standard where you think somebody should have a certain, should be in a certain position in life, what are those positions? Is it a position on maturity level, decision making? Is it just finance? Well, if they make this amount of money, I don't care what they do. I don't care if they're a cheater. I don't care, as long as they can allow me to, like she said, be able to consume. Is it just that? I don't care the type of person that they are. If they don't have, what's this big thing we be hearing about, emotional intelligence. A lot of people on that, right? So if are they willing to say, I don't care if you have emotional intelligence as long as you got money. I don't care if you a cheater as long as you got money. I don't care if you don't have any integrity as long as you got money. I don't care if you are abusive as long as you got money, whether it's verbal or physical. As long as I can be able to have the material things that I desire. And, and not being biased, I don't see that in any relationships as far. I don't see men coming from that perspective. Unless you a gigolo, then you want to make sure that whoever your sugar mommy is, she got some paper so you can get some things so you can, in exchange for that thing. Y'all let me know. Is it any other type of situations or scenarios where guys could be going into a situation looking at a woman to be a consumer? Just wanting her to have, to be in a certain level of financial stability or availability. I don't know. Y'all let me know in the comments.
You want to consume products and services. That's why you want to date a millionaire. And 9 times out of 10, a millionaire is a millionaire because they know how to make some money. They know how to keep some money. They know how to invest some money. They're not really that much of a consumer. Most millionaires are frugal as hell, living very simple lives. Luxury costs money. So basically, as a woman, you want to consume products and services. And you want a man to be able to provide that for you. I saw a woman on Threads say, hey, I dream of the day a man could spoil me right, take me shopping, take me on a helicopter. We can go on all these trips and do all of these amazing things, right? This man comes in the comment section and he's like, even in your own dreams, you don't have your own money. Why do women need the validation of a man?
That's pretty cold, right? Even in your own dreams, you don't have your own money. Oh no, I think that's a modern thing. When back, but like I hate to sound old school, but like back in the day, this wasn't a thing. Like we ain't had the internet, but I didn't hear grandmama and them talking like this. But I don't think that they didn't want a man that didn't have some value. Being honest. I don't think a woman ever not wants a man that has some value. I don't know if sometimes guys, people be faking. People be faking like they about something or like they got something, don't be about nothing. Just trying to manipulate, to get the cakes, and then a whole lot of lies. That's why I encourage at least the women in my family, the younger women, I encourage them coming up like, hey, don't be so quick to give up the cake. Allow the guy to work for it, and have some standards, have some things that you desire, because a child is easy. A child is easy just by not giving a fuck, just trying to have a fuck for lust. That comes from that. That's why we see a lot of broken homes, because two people just got together to fuck. They didn't get together and they didn't give a fuck. And then you had a child. So then now, they can't work their thing out. So people can be in this. So we could see things like grandmama and granddaddy, in the house together. So that dynamic has changed a lot. But on the dating aspect of it, from what she's saying, yeah, I'm thinking that every woman does want a good guy, just like a dude wanted, a good girl.
Man spending money on them as proof that a man loves them. You know what I think? It's daddy issues. Think about the daddy's girls. Their fathers taught them to independently operate. Go out there and get your own bread, sis. Nothing wrong with wanting a provider, someone to protect you. But if you grew up with your father, you have a realistic perspective of what that means. The only reason you'll value a man spending ridiculous amounts of money on you is because you never had that kind of money yourself. Once you went out there and had that kind of money yourself and you've bought your own everything, you look at it differently. As a woman,
Is that true? Is that the case? Oh no. Oh no. See, that's why we need a woman's perspective on here. Um, I would say like it's varied with me. I can't my wife, she is a woman who has her own career. So I've never dated anyone that didn't have that desire, you know. Um, like one of my standards was always wherever I'm gonna kick it and stick it, she got to have something going on. I had a career, so I enjoy being supportive of a woman that got a career too. We both want to have something. I look at it um, is that unless we both, unless we both decide like, hey, that's what it is. I'm gonna just hold everything down. I like the fact to be in a position where you can do that. Where you can hold everything down. But then, hey, it's a bonus. And if she's in a position where she can hold everything down, like then there is no weak links. So that's always been my position with it, even with the loves that didn't work. Some things on my part too why they didn't work. You know, ain't no pointing the fingers. We taking accountability and responsibility. But yeah, y'all let us know in the comments. Is money more important than love and dating? It's an interesting question, but everybody has a difference of opinion or what they think it's supposed to be or how they view it. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and move to the second question. Does having money make someone appear more attractive when you going in? I don't, nowadays, I think who has money because, well, what looks like some money. And that's what I be talking about, where people can put these, um, like you can trick, like you can fake like you got it. I can go rent a whip, you know, I can go have on some fake jewelry. I can look the look to attract the thing. But if that's why I encourage the women to be like, don't be so quick to give up the cookie, the cake, the ice cream, whatever you call it. All right. Because it could be an illusion and you could be delusional. And then you done gave up the only thing you can't get back. Now, cat in the hat can't get back. Now now you feel like you're smoking crack dealing with a tough situation. So that's one of those things where, it's like, does the money make you more attractive? How do you know that when you first meet somebody? If you're just looking at material stuff, that could be your bad. Even for a guy, he see a beautiful woman walk into a car, she going to go get into something foreign, north of 100 racks, no, high 50s. I mean, high 5 figures, and you automatically assume, oh, she this, or she got that, or she this or that, or whatever. But like, that's hers. That's what she working for, though. So what is my goal? Is my goal to be able to get in, to be able to get what I can consume? You know, if she didn't have that, if you didn't see those things, that material things, would you still look at her and say, that's a beautiful woman, let me shoot my shot? You know, because I think with girl, I done heard women say before, like, you know, he ain't cute, but he got money. And I heard women say that before. You know, I can't lie, I got a lot of guy friends, you know, and I ain't never heard none of the guys say, man, she ain't all that, but she got money, you know. And let me say this, I ain't saying I ain't never heard one of them say it before. I'm just saying the majority, you know, the majority of my guy friends, you know, that's not a common thing. My social circle is a lot of married brothers anyway. So, you know, um, try to keep like-minded people around, people, folks I can learn from. So let's get into the second question. Let's see what's going on with that.
The myth is that women find wealthy men more attractive, so the Mythbusters decided to find out if it was really true. To test the claim, they invited 100 women to take part in an experiment and divided them into 2 equal groups. The first group looked at 12 men's profiles. Each profile included a photo, the man's name, occupation, and hometown. The women simply rated how attractive they thought each man was. Then a second group rated the exact same 12 men. But this time, there was one twist. The photos stayed exactly the same. The Mythbusters only changed the profiles of 6 men, giving them high-paying careers like surgeon, dentist, and investment banker. They also changed their hometowns to wealthy areas, making them appear more successful. Most of the women said they judged the men only by their looks, not by their jobs or income. But when the scores came in, the results told a completely different story. The 6 men with the upgraded profiles received attractiveness ratings that were, on average, 23% higher. One man's score jumped by 32%, while another's skyrocketed by an incredible 76%. At least in this experiment, the more successful the men appeared, the more attractive they were rated. The myth is that women find wealthy men more attractive.
So there we go. We got a little study jumped off. It says that the Mythbusters proved it, that, you know, when you pad the stats, you know, the lady, all the ladies is looking, more the ladies is looking. So I don't know. You know, I don't know if I don't know if we can say that that's not true for women in preference. Like I was saying earlier, like women have always desired a good man. You know, whatever they in their brain they think makes it good, you know, then that's what they're gonna. That's what their outcomes look like. That's how I always look at it. I always look at it just like if you going through something and if your last relationship, if your last relationship was like your last relationship was like your last relationship was like your last relationship, then it's probably you. It's probably not anybody else. You probably haven't stopped to take the time to figure out what the problem is with you. You know, you can get somebody, but you can't keep nobody. If it's the thing is that you just don't want to keep nobody, then, you know, do your thing, live life how you live it. But I'm under the impression that most people, you know, would like to be with somebody, you know, like to have a partner in crime, in life. So y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. Yeah. Let us know what you think in the comments. You know, does having money make someone appear more attractive? I don't know. Is it different for guys? Is it different for the ladies? Who knows? But moving to our third question, what are some reasons that make people prioritize money over love? You know, what makes a person do that? Why would you prioritize it? You know, like I don't care if you love me or not. I just don't want to be broke, you know, or put it on a list as a person has to have a financial status before I could even give it. They have to. So on your list of standards, you know, does a person being financially fit, you know, or whatever that looks like for you, do they have to have that? Do they have to be in that space? Or can it be, you know, somebody that you're working with? Can it be a build-a-bear? You know, some people call it a build-a-bear, not talking down, like, you know, it might be somebody who, like all of us, right? School don't teach you financial literacy, you know, grade school, if you got 12th grade education, you had to learn on your own, right? A lot of folks go to college and come out, they're really good at what they went to college for, but they really bad at managing their finances because financial literacy is not even taught at the college level. You know, might be a perfect relationship psychologist, but a horrible budget of their own, you know, of their relationship with their money. So let's go to the internet and see what they say about it.
Financially, it's very tricky for you to focus on love and dating and relationship
Facts.
because
Facts.
your priority is like survival.
Facts.
For a man or a woman.
Okay.
And so I don't think you can necessarily like be out here putting your best foot forward dating if you are like hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt and you're
Right.
depressed and you're going through all of these things.
Right.
So the biggest thing for me was becoming. So instead of me just saying, I want to attract this man from who I am right now, I haven't lived up to my potential. I haven't done the things to become the woman that I know that I was born to be.
That's so good.
And I attracted a mess of a man because I was a mess. I think it takes prioritization 1,000%. I think that it's very tricky if you are totally struggling financially.
Okay. So the sister said that she was, you know, she was attracting people that was like her. And you know what? I think that that's true though. I told that to somebody, one of my like goddaughter play nieces, you know, we had a conversation and we was talking about that, like why, she was like, why do I keep getting these type of guys, you know? And I told her straight up, like, baby girl, that's what you attracting, you know, and that's what you like because you keep on attracting it. But what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to change. And when you change, then you'll attract something different, you know? And then it was like, well, a lot of people would say like, you know, well, how do you change? Okay, so where do you hang out? Where do you find these people? Stop hanging there. Because the only people who are there is the people like that. They in that environment. You know, what do you do? You know, with your time, where you investing your time at? If you're only investing your time in building yourself up, then wherever you're spending that time at building yourself up, like the young lady was saying, she was investing in herself, you know, then let's just say theoretically, if she was working a job, but she was working a job, but then she was coming home and going out to the clubs and going to go hang out and do this and all that. And, you know, but then she said, you know what? I'm going to go back to school now. I'm going to go and get certifications now. I'm going to go and get qualified in A, B, C, E, D. I'm going to build my business. You know, maybe she had a business that she wanted to start. So she's like, you know what? I'm going to focus on starting that business. All right. Now she's in a space where she's starting a business. Now she's in a space where she's in school, she educating herself. So you know what she most likely gonna find? What I said to her is like, maybe you're not looking for it because you focus. But now when you in that space, you're going to meet other guys in that space. Because that's where you spending your time at. See, you spending your time over here in the bum section. So you mingling with the bums. So that's why you keep getting bummed. But when you over here mingling now, because you over here in that space, building, then you're going to find other builders. That don't mean you still ain't got to have your antennas. That don't mean it ain't players over there too. That don't mean it ain't men with bad intentions, with only intentions of, trying to get to the cookie, cake, and ice cream and no other intentions. But just because now that you're in a different space, don't mean you can think the same. Start to think different. Don't even think the way you thought over there. If you was over there and was like, yeah, he probably ain't got this, but he might got some good, whatever, some loving. So you just gonna use for that. Don't be over here like that. Change all that up. You're in a different space, different mind space too. You can elevate, So basically what I was saying to her was like, the choice is yours. You are in control of it. Like we can't get it from you ladies unless you give it to us. Okay. Unless the person is creepy and they taking it. You know what I'm saying? Then you need to call the laws. Or if you have to defend yourself, make sure he don't take it from nobody else. You feel me? Chef Earl Pearl won't hate you for that. So what are some reasons that you think that make people prioritize money over love? The young lady said she had to get her mind right. It wasn't necessarily just prioritizing the money over the love. It was prioritizing her being in a better mental space, better financial space, and a whole different place to be able to receive love at, to get interest from other people. And I kind of agree with that though. I agree with that. What's that saying? You hang with 10 bums, you're gonna be the 11th bum. If you hang with 10 people that's doing something positive and productive, then you probably gonna be the 11th one. You're gonna be motivated. I really think that that's the truth. I don't think it's no cap on that rap. Because like we said, we try and get to, love right and our game tight. Because the goal is to play to win. So let us know what you think. Let me know what you think in the comment section. What are some reasons that make people prioritize money over love? Moving to question number 4. Why does it matter who makes more money than who loves the hardest? Because now you might get yourself in that financial space where you want to be. Okay. Now you might get yourself in that financial space where you want to be. But then now, do we start ego tripping? Okay. Do we start looking at what I built this and I built that, where you don't even allow yourself to be able to find love now? Do we see people going through that too? There's a lot of concepts and narratives about the love dynamic, or when you have money, the power dynamic. The dynamic of love when it comes to the power of having your money, of a person having more money than the other person, and who succeeds, and who succeeds control, who's the more dominant person in the relationship, and all that narrative, But what if you got 2 people that's making good money? What if it is, or and I just say good money like, We just gonna keep it at good money, you know, with quality lifestyle. Okay. What if it's one person that's making the goodest money? You know, the other person isn't making no money at all. You know, then there has to be some shared values there, right? If it's it doesn't matter who that is, what it look like in the relationship. Then what are those values? But what we see is that a lot of times there's a power dynamic that changes, and more people tend to look at who makes more money, and that right there is what we want to focus on for this one. Let's get to the net though, you know, because who makes more money seems to be like the biggest battle.
You could be making $1 million and I'm making $80,000, $100,000, and we in the same home. Why would I have to be making $1 million to be of love? No. This is what I'm
no, asking. Just different, okay, you're right, because then that's a different league.
This is what I'm saying. And I'm saying within the leagues, why do women, when they have the money and have the power, why do they look for a man that has money and power? Why are they not looking for a companion? Because if I have the money, real shit, I don't need you to have the money.
I agree. I think people
I need you to be my partner. I need you to love me, have my backbone, rub my back when it's tough times. And if you want to come bring some money to the table, let's do it. You want to bring some ideas, some technology to the table,
I agree with that.
Then let's go on and do that. But in the woman's mind, I really want you to think, why does a man have to meet you at your level to be legit if you're a boss?
Okay. There you go. Good question. Why does a man have to meet you at your level if you're a boss chick? We hear that out here. I'm a boss babe, a boss chick. You know, they put the derogatory, they boss female dogs, right? They say that, right? Or is it they not that type of bees? Okay, I don't know. But you know what I'm saying? The boss women, right? Then why do the guys have to, you need to level up. You need to meet me. If he don't have what I got, then it ain't, what is it? Do you plan on losing what you have? You know? Is that a thing? I've seen that. Is that a thing that guys say? You know? Because I'm rocking with what the brother was saying. As long as I can take care of what we need, like we'll get whatever we want. But making sure we have what we need is priority. You know? So, like I said, I enjoy seeing a woman be her fullest potential with having her own desires to be able to do what it is that she like to do professionally. So I don't have a problem if, you know, I have a working, like they say, a working woman, you know, with my wife. But it does seem like that there's this standard, because I have, even though the young ladies that I had dated prior to my wife, you know, I experienced those type of conversations, you know, and even in them situations, you know, I'm still holding my own, you know, but I've heard that if from their friends, you know, from their friends in conversations and stuff like that, you know, we even heard that from some of my wife friends too. So, you know, it's not just a that situation thing. It is I've heard this from women saying this a lot, but I don't know. I don't know why why we have that socially, where if you're a man and you can provide, or whatever partner is and you can provide, okay, then typically with the man, he's not worried about if you have money or not. But if a woman is successful, you know, in her, from her perspective, whatever her material things are, you know, a guy has to have that too. And what's crazy is that a lot of guys be having that too, but they be the players though. So then them chicks be getting, you know, like they'll have that. And those women will be, you know, would turn into being chicks, just the chick they smash. They just the egg they cracked and kept it moving, you know, because it's so many women that are attracted to them because they got it, quote unquote, going on, because they got stuff they can provide, you know. So it's interesting though. It's super interesting. But yeah, y'all let us know, why does it matter who makes more money than who loves the hardest? Because I'm thinking, you know, love conquers all, right? Isn't that the saying? But what do I know? Maybe, you know, can't have the honey without the money. Can't have the honey without the money. So we're gonna go ahead and move to our next question. Are people today looking for a life partner or financial pleasure? Because so far, everything that we have, all the clips that we have seen, it seems like, you know, there's a tug of war going on right now in the relationship, in the love community and finding love community, that people are trying to determine what their standards are. They're trying to define what their standards are, you know, but everybody loves, you know, the pleasure of material things, the pleasure of intimacy, you know, but that life partner thing is work. And if we just having play, you know, that ain't work if you just playing. You know, you got to put energy into it, but, you know, you can get some pleasure, you know, have a little intimacy and stuff like that, little, you know, and all of the other material things, some gifts and this, that, and the third. But that whole life partner thing, you know, that's the ups, the downs, the smiles, the frowns, you know, when it's raining outside, when it's sun shining, when it's cloudy, you know. So are people today looking for a life partner or financial pleasure? Let's see what the internet say about it.
Pleasure. You pick partnerships based on purpose. And I think that's where a lot of people get messed up. There are a lot of people you can be compatible with, but they're not going in the same direction as you. The pleasure wears off when you get in a pit. Like when it ain't working, when we lost the money, when you used to dress up for me and now you looking like a grandma, like all of those things, that's when you have to pick partners that you remember. Why did we get together? What was the purpose of this? What did we say we were going to do? And so a lot of times when people are starting to date and have fun and do all the different things, they're not thinking purpose. And it's hard to think purpose when you have not spent enough time with yourself personally.
Purpose. 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 What's the purpose? What is your purpose? What is your purpose? Why are you getting with this person? And I think that's what everybody feels to have. And that's the reason why I have, you know, a wonderful wife that I have, because when you date at a certain time, when you understand purpose, like what's your purpose? What are you with that person for? Are you looking for a life partner? Are you looking for a best friend? Are you looking for somebody that you know, it doesn't matter if you got the money or not? You know, you already, that it's not even really a thing. Like, you know, that person doesn't want to be without the money either. You know, so they're gonna do what they need to do. Like, it's a mutual shared thing of a standard or quality of life. Okay. Those things are the purpose. And then what's the relationship goals? A lot of people don't realize that, like, you could be with somebody and y'all don't have no goals. I always tell folks, like, a relationship have to have goals. You know, it can't just be, because after a while, like, it'll wear off, like the brother was saying. Like, after a while, it'll just be, it's no purpose. What's the purpose? You know, for us. You can have the kids, you know, okay, we can screw and have the kids. We don't have to plan for that. You know, we could just, oh, I'm pregnant. You know, now comes the responsibility. But, and then after they gone, did you even make it till after they gone? You know, so the purpose wasn't to have the children, to raise them together and be instrumental in their rearing, and, you know, that makes it a purpose. Okay. So when we get together, we should be trying to do that. You know, remember the goal is to get love right and get your game tight. You know, so we should be trying to do that. Have a purpose. Have standards. You know, have a reasoning, some logic, some priorities about yourself, about what you require, that don't necessarily have to be material in totality. You know, where you just, what can I consume? You know, maybe more so of, you know, what can we build together? If you're not somebody who already has your career together, or whatever your money thing is, you know, but you may have a person that you don't have to do that. But I can't see if that's not a personal desire of yours, that somebody should be supportive of it. Whoever you wish should be supportive of that. Your partner, I want a supportive partner of the things that I desire to do, you know, professionally. That should be, you know, one of them standards. That's the purpose. What's the purpose? You know, so we can be together forever. If the goal is to just get old and gray, I want to see you be gray all over, head to toe. All right. Big knuckles and everything. I know how old folks got big ass. You know, so yeah, if it's that simple, that's the purpose. You know, you can have you know, every year we want to take this amount of vacations, we want to do this, we want to invest this, we want to do that. Whatever those relationship goals, relationships got to have relationship goals too. Because we got to have something we working on too. That, yeah, we gonna get our tag team stuff that we got to get together in life, you know, but what's a goal we got? Something that when we look at each other, like, yeah, we did that. We ain't talking about paying the mortgage every month. Beyond that, You know, you're gonna do that if you want to keep a roof. That's a necessity to you. That ain't a flex. You know, so it's just something to think about. You know, I'm not the guru. I'm not the love guru. I'm trying to get mine and keep mine together too. You know, that's the Love Speak Q&A. We had 5 questions for today. Is money more important than love and dating? Number 2, does having money make someone appear more attractive? Number 3, what are some reasons that make people prioritize money over love? Number 4, why does it matter who makes more money than who loves the hardest? Number 5, are people today looking for a life partner or financial pleasure? And you know, we always encourage y'all to tell us what you think in the chat or let your love speak in the comments. Let me know. Let me know. Because we live in a world where it seems like it's no finance, no romance. So I want to appreciate everybody for pulling up. Make sure y'all smash that like button and also subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. So when I go live, you never miss a chance to let your love speak. Everybody have a peaceful, positive, and productive rest of your day. I'm Chef Earl Pearl at DBCHEFTV. Until next time, peace.
BKSoulFarm.com, 1016 160 self-sustainability. Jump on the list and get yourself together, right?
Brunch with the fellas at Brunch Fellas. Bo's Podcast. Bo's on the Table. The Cigar Sundays Live. TVK Podcast. The Veteran Kettle. Sign up for the newsletter and shop merch and clothing at DBCHEFTV.com.